All right, Mr. Taliaferro TV, how's everybody doing out there? So this is very rare from Yo Gotti. He doesn't speak on a lot of situations like this often or anything like that. He's a very mute person at this point in his life. Like, I've been a Gotti fan for all I can remember. Like, I'm used to Gotti being a very vocal guy when I was like growing up and when Gotti was in his 20s, but somewhere down the line, he just stopped talking. Pretty much, he'll do interviews from here and there, but he ain't really big on speaking on social media, and it's very rare to hear him speak on a situation that's so close to home. Now, as we all know, it was only a few months ago when Yo Gotti's road dog, Keon Wright, was sentenced to 10 to 15 years for a shooting that happened in 2016 in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, allegedly, Keon Wright and two associates were aiming at fellow Memphis rapper Young Dolph, who was also performing in Charlotte, North Carolina that weekend during CIAA. And again, thank God nobody was hit, but security guards say they saw a Nissan Altima flee the scene shortly after 40 to 50 shots were fired into a Hyatt hotel lobby, again, where two people were at around 4:45 in the morning. He was sentenced back in October, I believe, and since then we ain't heard anything from Yo Gotti in this camp. They ain't made a public statement addressing it. CMG ain't came out with a statement, nothing. They pretty much went mute. Now, I know Gotti has an album about to drop. Last time I was updated on it, I know it's dropping. I think it's dropping in February, if I'm not mistaken. And if this project is still slated to drop in February, one would believe that Gotti would do some sort of press, probably very limited press, but one would believe he would do some type of press and address it verbally, or what happened, to the best he can without telling too much, whatever happened. But he did, for the first time, drop some sort of love to his dog Keon, as Keon is celebrating his birthday from behind bars, unfortunately. He said, "Happy birthday, bro. We miss you, my nigga." And he put the heartbroken emoji on it on his Insta snap. That is Yo Gotti's message to his brother, associate, whatever you want to call him, Keon Wright, his homie, or somebody that's been like a friend to him, on the road with him for quite some time now. Keon's much younger than Gotti, but he's been around. He's definitely been around. Listen, I'm a day one Yo Gotti fan. I'll be honest with you guys. I am looking forward to hearing the music from Yo Gotti on this new album. I think he said it's called Trapped or something like that. If ever were a time for Yo Gotti to make some inspired music, because I do feel like a couple times over the last few years when Gotti dropped some music, it didn't sound as inspired as it did in the past. If ever were a time for Gotti to drop an inspired project, I would tend to believe that this is the time. All right, you gotta understand that probably was a big hit to Gotti, and his, he lost somebody that's been on the road with him for quite some time. All right, so if ever were a time for me to get some inspired, if this is Gotti's one last hurrah, right? If this is his last big project, if he's gonna go out, Michael Jordan went out around his 40th birthday, he was still able to drop 40 points at 40. If this is Gotti's 40-point hurrah, if we were going to ever get some inspired music from Yo Gotti again on an album format, you got to believe, after everything he's dealt with in regards to losing one of his homies for 10 to 15 years over an alleged shooting with a rival, you got to believe it's coming now. All right, I pray for all parties involved, and I want to send a happy birthday again to Keon, who's celebrating unfortunately his birthday from behind bars in Charlotte somewhere. And yeah, thank y'all so much for the time, love, and support. I do not take it for granted. Yo Gotti, for the first time, he shows some love publicly to his homie Keon Wright, who is facing 10 to 14 years for a 2016 shooting in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm out. I came from nothing, but I want everything God has for me. I interview celebrities. I talk sports. I still represent the culture.
You are now tuned in.
Yeah, we locked in right now, Mr.
Taliaferro. Mr. Taliaferro. Mr. Taliaferro.
Mr. Taliaferro.
Shout out to Mr. Taliaferro.
You're watching Mr. Taliaferro TV.
Mr. Taliaferro TV. Here
you can't do nothing but win.